What is the next point? I got it up. I hope you guys like our design. Shout out to Silver Koi here. He's the one that created this little thing. Uh, there's, yeah. Shout out to that. It's supposed to be Faultarian, not Faultarian, but I didn't really realize that at the time. So here we are. So the next topic we got is skill based matchmaking. So does anyone want to
Woo-hoo.
take this off, or shall I begin?
I think that has to cue into like
This
our
all
last
ties in
topic of
together.
like
This
the
all ties in
yeah,
together.
yeah, pretty well. It's just like it is important to have that system there because again, that's part of the frustration and the reason why people leave a game 5 minutes in. Because again, if you're somebody who's been playing time and time after, and like you have countless
Ooh,
hours into it,
this
you
game
don't
is
want to play a
awful.
game with
Let's move
somebody
on.
who literally just joined that has no idea what they're doing.
And that's the thing. So, how do I word this? I remember my first time playing Paragon. It was on Legacy, and Steve can attest to this because he's the one that actually introduced me to this. Uh, who is S.A. Reed? For anyone that would like to see, or I think you're S.A. Reed because you changed your name.
Messaging.
Yeah. I played it as Greystone. Never played a MOBA before. Never watched MOBAs. Knew nothing about MOBAs. Didn't even know there were 3 lanes. Hey, that's Expert Gains. He's another person that I've known for 10 years now because of game chat.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, and
Hell yeah.
he's someone that likes Smite, so he's kind of a weirdo. But
And just to mention that Agora.gg doesn't Fault basically have their own version of that?
Fault
The Fault
has
Hub?
their own MMR. It's on playfault.com. It wasn't active for the Alpha 3 weekend, but it should. They're debating from what I understand. They're debating if it's going to be active right away for EA or not. But I think it's so important because no noob, no offense to the noobs, but no noob wants to play a MOBA that knows nothing about MOBAs, get shit on because they're never going to play the game again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that also goes with the tutorial and stuff. But there's other noobs that join a game when you know what I mean. So noobs should play noobs kind of thing. And the same thing like it's the other way around. This isn't Call of Duty where I'm trying to go 100-0 in a pub match. This is a MOBA. I want to have that tough battle. Uh, I want it. I don't want to just go 40-0 in a MOBA and just be like, oh look, man, this like I'm just pushing. Yeah, just in my right click at my Q. Yeah, okay, they're dead.
Yeah, because just as unfun as it is to win a game in 15 minutes, it's also not fun to lose a game in an hour.
Yeah.
So it's about that happy medium between just like if it is like an actual skilled lobby, you should be able to hit that about half an hour range
Hmm.
where I mean everyone's towers are down. It's literally just whoever wins that team fight.
Yeah, and so that's why I think skill-based matchmaking is so important because I really feel like it just enhances everyone's experience in MOBAs in particular. You know what I mean? And it also goes into this other point that I think we have mentioned somewhere else in one of the acts, but it all ties in together. Is a lot of griefing is going to occur if you're getting pooped on because you're new at the game and your teammate who thinks he's a know-it-all is getting frustrated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like griefing does happen over that, which is a bit understandable. Like if your teammate's doing bad or you're doing bad, like I get frustrated too. Don't get me wrong. Like I sometimes need to step away or my monitor is broken. And it also comes into the thing that really, if I had to say one thing, so an Alpha 3 weekend for anyone that was lucky enough to get a key, I was new to PC, so my shot wasn't that great. I understood Paragon, so that was good. But I remember playing and running into a fucking 5 stack of testers. It wasn't just a 5 stack, it was a 5 stack of people that have 100 hours of game time over me. And most of the testers in Fault just happen to also be people that you were used to be part of like the Paragon competitive community, so they're really big on everything. You know what I mean? So they're better than your average player, I guess is a good way to put it. I That turned me off from the Alpha 3 weekend. If there was any reason whatsoever that I didn't want to play Fault, it was that. if that makes any sense. Like, and I know some people are just like, "Yo, get good, bro. You just gotta outbeat them." Well, when you're solo queuing, sometimes you just fucking can't. Like you just can't do everything, and sometimes you just get shit on yourself. And
Yeah.
that's where skill-based matchmaking I really think needs to come in. But this also brings up the issue where it's easier to implement skill-based matchmaking the more players you have. The second you have like a smaller player base, it becomes way, way more difficult because you might create longer queue times, and so on and so forth. But I know that in other games, like a five stack will only play a five stack. There's obviously exceptions. Like if there's a weird difference in MMR, you might say three stack and two randoms go up against a five stack or whatever.
It's also nice being able to like games like Smite, like kind of like Smite, and then games like Overwatch. Like obviously, once the game starts getting bigger and you have like a bigger player base, being able to go into queue like with a preferred role. So again, the game automatically knows like it's not going to put five people who generally have played mainly jungle characters. There's not going to be five junglers all just fighting over jungle. And then
Yeah.
right off the get go, because a person, let's say Steven had it in his mind, he's playing Crunch, and now he's forced to play mid, which he does
Mhm.
not want to do at all. Guess what? He may play half ass compared to like if he was playing jungle. So it's
Well,
just the
Yeah.
mindset of
obviously.
on top of that skill based matchmaking, like even just giving the player the option to, hey, this is my preferred role. Like you should be able to make a lobby with
Hmm.
enough people that you'd have each role. And like even if you have your top two, and like if you're not getting your favorite, like you don't get to play jungle, but you don't mind playing support. Just giving you those options.
Yeah. Just to answer Danny's question, just like so, this is where like as a part of the Paragon community, I would have loved to know how many people play the game, and that's just like a little bit. I think that just goes with like that just hypes some people up. But just to show you just a few analytics that I've just remembered over the time, Smite has approximately 10,000 concurrent players per week. I think it is, or maybe it's per
Really?
day. Yeah.
Holy
Um,
shit.
Paragon, at its lowest point ever in player base, with the exception of the alpha, always had more than that. Always had more than 10,000 concurrent players per week. In fact, I remember Paragon announcing this, and this was version 41, I think, is what it was, or maybe it was version 39. It doesn't matter. Somewhere within 2 months, uh, there was 500,000 concurrent players on Paragon. So that's
Holy
how
shit.
big this community was. Like
I mean, what definitely pushed that though was
now,
like
well,
the
500 in
largest
total
player
for a
base
week.
was
Yeah.
on PS4,
Hmm.
and because again it was a free to play game on PS4, and this is back obviously before Fortnite, so like there wasn't a large selection of free to play games.
Hmm.
So you also have to take that in consideration, the fact that like yes they had that player base, but it was mainly on PlayStation.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing that people uh, need to know. 70% of Paragon's player base was on PS4. That is mind blowing numbers, by the way, because usually it's the other way around. PC is always more popular. And that's why in Fault and the Para Zombie universe that is created, some people will argue that the game that's going to be successful is the first game to come to PS4. Simple as that.
Yeah, once you have a finished game on
Mhm.
Steam and you have it playable, I mean, like, obviously they've all made sure that you're able to play it with a controller. So, I mean, that's the first half, but just being able to get it coded over for
Mhm.
PlayStation. And at that point, again, if they're looking at a full release this fall, winter, or early next year, like, yes, it could still come out for PS4, but that's going to be the hurdle making it for these next gen
Mhm.
consoles.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
tough, and they can't release an alpha on PS4. Like Sony's not gonna let it fly because Sony is not super strict with the rules, but they're not super lenient either. You know what I mean? because they're
Yeah.
only going to release a game that's going to make them money as well as the company money, if that makes any sense. They're basically looking out for both their interest and the companies, which is kind of cool. Sony's just a bit transparent for such a large company. Uh, and crossplay, just to mention crossplay. So there's once upon a time, I think it was last week. It might have been 2 weeks ago, actually. Now, I remember talking to all these testers. So I'm not a tester. Steve's not a tester. Chandler's not a tester. None of us are testers. None of us actually have any direct connection with Fault besides that we're a consumer, just like most of the viewers. And I remember talking to them, and I was lucky enough to have developers, testers, and other people that are directly connected with Strange Matter Studios in there. And I asked them about the crossplay, and this is where opinions start to fly. Some of the testers were like, "Yes, absolutely, yes, crossplay, you need it," and then some of the testers and developers were like, "Fuck off!
Really?
Are you kidding me? Crossplay? No." So
I
basically,
didn't
what
know
it seems
that.
like yeah. So this is basically what the consensus came down to. Now obviously stuff can change because it wasn't like yeah, obviously stuff can change but in normal, so like in normal casual, when this comes to PS5, anywho, when this comes to PS5, they plan they plan on adding from my consensus, they plan on adding crossplay to casual games. However, the second they have a ranked mode, crossplay is disabled. They will not have it. And that just comes down to the argument as well. You get way more aim assist on controller. If they implement aim assist, that's a different discussion within a discussion. And they also, as someone that played console since I was a little kid, I can tell you with certainty, unless I'm built different, unless I'm literally shrouded in the flesh, a PC player is always better on PC than a console player is on console.
Yeah.
It's just easier, and that's where like crossplay comes in. And then we're not even done yet because we're talking about the frames. Like the PS4 is capped at 60 frames per second maximum, to where I can be playing on 140 frames per second on PC. And just the you guys might not think it makes a difference, but I'm telling you it does. You literally will see a full second or two ahead of people. And in Call of
Literally get
Duty,
killed by the Invisible Man.
you
Like,
will. And I remember in Call of Duty this year that so this year Call of Duty Modern Warfare, they in the original start of the game they actually allowed crossplay tournaments, and it wasn't. They actually took it out after like a week of the game because what ended up happening is that PC players were literally seeing seconds ahead of the console players. Call of Duty is also running on 12 hertz when it should be running on 60, but that's another discussion. And because of that, people were seeing seconds ahead. So you were literally dying to the Invisible Man because in Call of Duty, it's just 4 bullets, you're dead. That's half a second. And it's the same thing with MOBAs. Like, what's the difference between 2 seconds in a MOBA? One ability. You know what I mean? So do you really want to be one ability behind at all times? Or do you want to be 2 seconds behind in a gank? You know what I mean? It's stuff like that. So that's why I personally think when it comes to rank, there needs to be some distinguishing between crossplay. Or another way to look at it, there needs to be a distinguish between using a controller and using a mouse and keyboard, because as people know, there's full customizable ability. I butchered that word, but here we are.
customizability.
Yes, with
Sorry,
the controller on fault
do you like
at the
that?
moment, so that would be just another way to look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There also is an aim assist in fault, and that's a whole discussion on itself. Should there be aim assist or not aim assist? And cool. So, do you guys have any points on that? What do you guys agree? Because we all come from a console background, more so, we should say that. So, but what do you guys think as console players, as people that played Paragon? Actually, Chandler played Paragon on PC.
Yeah, I did play it on the laptop there.
Ah. So
But
what?
the difference was,
He
again,
played with.
I was playing on absolute lowest possible settings.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say I was probably at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I would say you were. Actually,
The
I'm
only
gonna.
thing that saved me again is just playing,
Is my mic
obviously,
being
any type
weird?
of. ranged character.
Is my mic being weird, chat? Just to, because I'll just unplug. Sometimes my mic gets all funky, and I have to unplug it and plug it back in, and then it works fine. Actually, I'm just going to do it just in case.